folks, I can have your attention, please. I'd like to welcome you here to the Beckley Exhibition Coal Mines. My name's Clancy, and I'm going to be your guide for the next little bit. We are retired coal miners, all of our tour guys that takes you underground. I've got 47 and a half years of working underground, so I've seen a lot of changes in my career, okay? And a lot of it was for safety reasons, and that's real good. It made it a lot safer for our coal miners. So, speaking of safety, we got to have a little safety meeting before we take off. Please stay seated at all times. Don't be raising up in your seats. We do have some load clearance in there. We don't want you bumping your head, parting your hair a different direction and give you a headache, all right? We don't want that to happen today. And don't reach out past the rails on your car. You may catch your fingers on some rocks or cables and things. We don't want you to get caught up in those. And we don't drag our hands along the top. It's not a roller coaster ride, so we don't have no curly-cues and loop-de-loos, and we don't have to raise our hands, all right? It don't go about 5 miles an hour anyway. It's not real fast. And then state and federal law is, I got to tell you, no smoking underground. Can't allow no smoking underground. When you come out to visit the homes, all the homes along the edge of the mountain here, the hillside, you'll go up this sidewalk, follow the flowers that's on your left-hand side, and when you get to the end of those, that boardwalk turns back to your left. That takes you out to the one-room school, the superintendent's house out there, that big 2-story house, and then you got the single man's dwelling, and then the family house and the church out to the far right. You can go down through the church, and that'll take you down to the museum, to the youth museum down there on the bottom where the caboose and the other cars are set up. And then there is log homes down there for you to look at. Out back there is the old mountain homestead. You can go out there and look at it. It's an old log home set up like it was in the frontier days. You can go visit those. And then upstairs where you bought your ticket, upstairs that is a museum. Now you can go up those steps, it's right in front of the doors, or you can go around the right-hand side, get on that glass elevator and ride it up to that level. And you can go visit the museum there. Now that elevator is a replica of what we would ride into a shaft mines. That's where the coal seam is real deep under the earth, and we just put an elevator in and ride it down, and then we get on our man trips. But today we're going in what we call a drift mount. That's where the coal seam was this close to the surface, so we just sort of drift under the mountain, all right? So that's what we call it, a drift mount, okay? And then take pictures anywhere you like. There's no copyrights here, no restrictions. So underground, out here, anywhere on our property, you're allowed to video or take pictures, okay? Just don't lay anything loose in the seats. If you're not using your phone or anything, please keep it in your hand or in a pocket. Make sure it's secured. If folks lay stuff in the seats, those seats are open in the back. If it goes down between those cushions, it falls out on the mine floor. If you do drop something or lose something, quickly let me know. I'll stop and we'll try to get it for you. Or if you don't realize it till you get back outside and you lost something, you tell me what you lost. I'll go back in and try to find it for you, all right? All right, anybody been here before? No. Got a whole fresh bunch of new people here I can take underground. Work y'all to death today, all right. No, I'm gonna be going in about 100 feet, or about 150 feet, just around the curve, and I'll stop and ask you if you're okay with your surroundings. Some folks get that far on the ground, they say, you want back outside. Okay, so I can back you out real quick that way. But it's about 14 feet wide, it's pretty wide. It's about 5.5 foot tall, and it's a little bit taller than that in places. And then we do have lights throughout the mountain. So it's not real enclosed or claustrophobic like, but if you feel like you need to come back out, please let me know and I'll get you outside. All right, everybody ready to go?
Yep.
Yep. All right, here we go. Now, this is a 1930 model motor, and sometimes it wants to take off in high gear. And I apologize if it does, but I'm going to try to get it not to do that. It'll jerk. It's going to behave today.
Really?
Everybody good?
Yep.
Might be like me, ready to take a nap. All right, a little history about the mountain and the mines and all. It was a private mines, and it belonged to a family called the Phillips family. When they bought the property outside, it was a big old farm over here on top of these mountains and things. And they bought the mineral rights too. So that gave them the right to mine for coal, drill for gas or oil. And in this area back in those days, there's a lot of folks using the coal. So they started mining the coal. And that was in 1890s when they started mining coal here. Now, if you folks on that side of the car, if you want to stand up, you got room to stand up or sit on the edge of the rail, whatever makes you comfortable, or get on the seat in your knees. That way you're not twisting your back a lot and stuff. So it make you a little comfortable. We'll be here for about 10 minutes or so. Like I say, they started here in 1890. The seam of coal that they started mining, we name all of our seams, and this one was called the Sewell seam. And you can see it over there underneath the rock. I'm going to try to shine my light on it for you there. That is the seam of coal. And it runs about 42 to 44, 46 inches most of the time. And you folks over here, if you want to see it, it comes around this way. And it's just a little shorter over here. We've added a lot of gravel, try to dry up some mud and water where we have to stand. But that's the seam, and they didn't mine the rock. They just tried to mine the coal. Sometimes the rock would fall out, but most of the time they just got the coal out. So they was pretty well crawling on their hands and knees, or duck walk, what we call. You ever seen the duck waddle? That's what coal miners used to do underground to get to where they was going, so they didn't have to crawl on their hands and knees. And then they couldn't cut it out as wide as we do because they didn't have the support system that we had. All they could do is put in timbers and big header boards across. And so they just they took it around 6 to 8 feet wide, and so they didn't expose a whole lot of area to have to be supported. And I'll show you more of that on my last little stop. But that's what we had in here, real low and real narrow. And they mined in here for about 20 years. And so they mined a lot of property out and all their coal rights and things, and they had to stop because they bumped up against another coal company or another people that owned the property and the coal rights. So they had to stop, and that was in 1910. So they mined, we've seen the maps and got the engineers to help measure it. And it measured up over 8 miles that they mined through out under here. All the tunnels added up together and stuff. And if you want to look at one of the old original tunnels, it's right behind these folks here, back over in there. You can see that. Now it's a little bit taller because it fell in and we had to get it cleaned up and put timbers and stuff back in it. But that's one of the original tunnels that they worked in. Now after it shut in 1910, it was closed up for a long time. Up until 1959, the city of Beckley bought the mines from the family, and they started to making exhibition mines out of it. They had to cut it out wider and the taller, and they bought the rails and the cars and the motors to pull you through on, so make it more convenient for you. They knew that they would not get anybody to pay them money to crawl on their hands and knees underground to look at the coal mines, all right? So they made it more convenient for you to bring you through here. So in 1962, we opened up for our first tours. And the original exhibition mines, before we added this area on, this went straight under the mountain and back out the other way. We added this little here, added it on so we can show a few more things what they used to do. In 1962, we opened up for our first tours, been going pretty good ever since. Year of COVID, we was down, but we got back to going. Last year, our season run from April to November, and we took a little over 52,000 folks through here. So we was pretty busy, and hopefully we'll hit that again this year. We're pretty close, but things are slowed down now. Everybody's back in school and back to college, and people's just not traveling right now. We'll probably start traveling again around the middle of October, and they'll start, and what do you call them? We call them snowbirds. They're coming down, and they're going south, follow the sunshine. I don't blame them about that. But anyway, we do pretty good here. Now, in 1967, I was 6 years old. My dad brought me through here, and he thought maybe that I would change my mind about being a coal miner. But I was following in my dad's footsteps. I wanted to stay here in this area. So in 1974, when I graduated, I went into the coal mining industry, and when I retired, that was in December 2022. So I got 47 and a half years of working underground. And I've seen a lot of changes, and thankfully everything that I've seen, it changed for the good. More safety and help the coal miners and things like that. Now we're going to go over a few little things here that coal miners used to use. You may have read or heard about them. They used to bring canaries in with them. And the canary was to help him find low oxygen. Back in the day, everything was naturally ventilated. They didn't have the fan systems that we had. They depended on the air to come in naturally, or if they would had two places to come in their mines, they would build a fire out here where y'all come in at, and over here where we're going to go out after a while, they would that air would pull through. That fire would draft and pull air through their mines. So that's how they ventilated their mines. Or they hired teenage boys that would pump bellows and big air bags. They would pump and push air through. But the air level got so low sometimes before they got any ventilation. We lost a lot of coal miners because they run out of air back in these mountains. That air just run out, and their oxygen level got low. And when it does that, they call it black damp, and that's an area where there's no oxygen at all. And if you go in there and of course you got oxygen in your lungs, it sucks that oxygen out of your lungs, and it's almost instant death in about 2 to 3 seconds, and that's all it takes. And you may be walking and you step into it right in here, you don't see it, and so it was a real bad danger. So that's what we carried our little canaries for. Okay, and you would set it down or hook it on the timber where you was working at. You watched him. Now, when he quit doing anything and laying around, we didn't want anything to harm him. We didn't want no harm to come to him because he was our lifeline. So when we watched him and he was just laying around, that meant there was danger. And so we got out of there. We took him and got out of that area. But that's what we used the canaries for. We used these up until 1920s. And then we started using instruments. We retired the canaries and let them live out their life outside. Then we started using flame safety lamps. That's what this is. The first flame safety lamp was a little bit taller and made out of brass. It was real heavy. And so we invented it. We got this made out of aluminum. This was built in the 50s and 60s. And so we use this to help find methane gas. Now, the canary does not detect the methane gas. You can't see it, taste it, or smell it underground. You don't know it's there until it's too late. Sometimes it flash fires or explodes. But it is the same gas that they drill down and pump out to your homes. If you got gas in your homes, it's the same gas. They just put an additive in it so you can smell it when it starts leaking anywhere. So it's the same type of gas. But methane gas is lighter than air, and it floats along the top and accumulates in high spots. So you would take your lamp across like that, and if that flame started getting a little taller, burning a bright orange and getting up in these lines, that top line is your high concentration of your methane gas. So that's what you watch for with this. Now, we call it a safety lamp because it will pick that methane up and it goes down through there and it won't come back out because we got check valves in here, and that flame will just burn it out real easy like. So that's why we call it a safety lamp. And that flame has to have oxygen to burn. So we use this to help us find the low oxygen in our mines. And so this is what we started using after we used the canary. You got that little hook on it there. You would hook it on your pants pocket or a belt loop, and you carried it with you all day, and you take it off and do your tests. And I carried one of these up until 1978, and then we retired these. We quit using these, And we went to a better method, and it is a little computer-like thing here. It's called a spotter, and it picks up your methane gas and your low oxygen for you. It's just this little handheld computer. It's got this breather in the back, and it's got an alarm here and a readout. So when you get into the danger zone, it's got a halfway point. It starts beeping, and that's letting you know you're getting into some kind of danger. And then it starts a solid alarm when you get into like 1% of gas and stuff. And you can carry it in your pocket. You just turn that around to where it picks up the air, or you can put a loop in it and put it on your belt. And that's what we use today. We carry these with us. They are calibrated every morning before you take them underground. So they're zeroed, and everything is supposed to be accurate on it. All right, so much for our little safety methods. We're going to go to lights, okay? The first lights that we used underground was candles, and you would put candle holders in your timbers and you light your candles up as you come in. And back in the day, they used candles on their hat. You can see where it mounted on their hat and used candles. And then we come up with this. This is the little teapot light. You would put kerosene or lamp oil in there and shut that up. And light this little wick out this spout. And that little hook was designed to hook on your hat. And so you would hook that on your hat and go to work with it. Now it puts out pretty good light, but it would burn for about an hour and a half. So you always made sure you had your fuel with you, because it's a long ways outside in the dark if you don't. Now, we retired that type of light and started using the carbide lights. Anybody ever seen one of those demonstrated?
Yes, I have.
Mm-hmm. You have one at home?
I had one, yeah.
Yep, a lot of people collect these. We're starting to collect them now pretty good.
Just drip water on that carbide.
Yep. I'm going to add you some carbide in here. Now, it don't smell very good. It's got a little sulfur or rotten egg smell to it. I'm just going to warn you, all right? I guess I got nose blind to it. I don't pay no attention to it anymore. But calcium carbide is used for several different things. A couple of them is when they're making steel, when it's still in the liquid form, they'll put calcium carbide in it, and it takes the impurities out of the steel that they're making. And they make acetylene gas, like you'd use in a cutting torch. When you add the water to it, like I had my back to you, I don't know who said that, but when you add water to it, it makes acetylene gas. So we learned to use that for a light, coal miners did. So I'm going to add you a little water to this. See that acetylene gas coming out of there? So when you seal it up, it starts pressurizing in here. Comes out this little spout. So I got a little flint underneath this wheel, and I'm going to make a spark, and it should light that gas up for you. It's going to pop a little bit, okay? I said a little bit. A little bit more than a little bit. But anyway, you use that for your light. You had the same type of little hook here on the back. So you hooked that on your hat and went to work with it. Now, can anybody tell me why these was outlawed in about 1955?
Fire hazard.
Fire hazard. It lights that gas up sometimes and everything. But it was a good light. It shines out pretty good. Some of them have a bigger reflector on it, and so you can see pretty good. It glows out there. And it also tells you which way that wind is blowing. Mm-hmm. It's going that way. Mm-hmm. Now I'll show you what type of light this produces for you.
Oh, wow.
And so once your eyes adjust to that, you can see pretty good. And sometimes you had a partner with you, so you had two of these, so it made it just a little bit brighter, okay? Now we do a lot of celebrations around here. We're a party bunch, okay? We think of things to celebrate. So next month, we got 3 weekends after we shut down of the day. We open back up around 5 o'clock. And we start doing the haunted mines tours. And so we have no lights at all in here. It's pitch black dark. And when you come into an area like this, we have strobe lights set up. You know, strobe lights flash. And so they'll start flashing, and you see a bunch of ghouly looking people running at you. They are live actors. They come in and they do the outdoor dramas over at Grandview for us, but they come in and act. and they have chainsaws, they have machetes, they have all kinds of stuff they think is going to scare you. And so when you get here and them strobe lights come on and they're screaming and y'all start screaming and everybody's screaming not for ice cream now, you know that old saying. They're screaming to get out of here, but guess what? We just take you right on through. There's people all over this place are doing that, all right? You think you're going to settle down and here comes something else at you. So I'm going to show you how dark it gets underground, okay? So if you close anything that has a light on it, I want you just to close it up just a moment. If you want to continue, that's fine. But anyway, I'm going to show you how dark it gets, and when I do that, if you want to try to touch your nose with your finger, make sure it's your finger touching your nose now, all right? So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Without that light right there, it'd be pitch black dark. Think you can find your way out of here? Oh yeah, yeah. We use a light like I've got on my hat now. It's LED. It shines out real bright, and it'll burn for about 72 hours before you have to charge it back up again. Actual operating coal mines, you will not find all the lights in here. We have so many laws that we have to contend with, and these lights could cause explosions and fires and things, so we just use the sealed light that we have on our hats, and then we have sealed lights on our equipment. So that's what you see by it, just mainly. And if you're off working somewhere by yourself, this is all you got right here.
Would they send people down all by themselves?
Yes. Back in the old days, you worked by yourself. Nowadays, we work with a crew of men. We have about 8 to 9 folks on our crews that we work with.
When you were digging, is that what you would be digging into on your hands and knees to get that? Or
Yes,
do they have machines to do it? Or
we have machines now to do it. Back then, yes, they was on their hands and knees using these picks and shovels, and they would dig out these big lumps. They would haul that out, and it'd be lumpy, and that's what they loaded on their car.
would they get paid? Not enough.
Probably about
20 cents a ton.
What?
20 cents a ton.
12 cents.
Yeah, 20 cents, not dollars, 20 cents. And if you read the history books, you can find out that, you know, that's what they got paid.
So this is a 40-cent card over here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a 40 cent, and this is a 20 cent.
That's 20 cents.
Yeah. I'm gonna go over that over on my next stop. I'm gonna try to explain it better, and we don't have the cars over there, but I'll try to explain how they done everything over there.
What did they do with all the rock that was above the coal seam?
It stayed. If they could get it to stay, they just tried to hold it up with timbers and boards like that. They couldn't sell the rock. There was no buyers for it. This shell rock, it actually, when it stays outside for a long time, it turns to mud. It just softens up, and just when water and air hits it, it just turns to mud.
What was the number one cause of death of coal miners?
Back then was rock falls and explosions, because they didn't know until they figured out what was causing the explosions and things. It was that, and then rock falls, because they didn't have support systems like we have. And so it was that, and then black lung, the dust, the black lung. They didn't have the dust suppression and stuff that we have today, so they was breathing a lot of dust. I probably couldn't see those folks right there,
Really?
back then, if I was working back then in the dust. Nowadays, we have lots of dust suppression, a lot of air. I'll talk about that more over on the other side of the mountain here.
Is there still a lot of black lung?
The older men that's retired and stuff, yes, they'll have to contend with it. Our newest group, even me, I don't have it, and so I wore my respirator all the time. And then they come out about 12 years ago. They come out with an air helmet. It looks like a motorcycle helmet, but it's got a little fan in the back, and it's got filters up to the top, and it blows air down, and you have a face shield that seals around your face like a fireman's hat, and you don't get any dust. You're breathing that fresh air all the time. Any other questions here? All right, we're going to head on around the mountain. Anybody listen to country music?
Sure.
Sure, yeah. Brad Paisley from West Virginia. He come in a year and a half ago and shot a video in here. So I'm going to stop up here and I'll show you where he made it. There is a sign on the post that's going to be on that side of the car. You want to, you can take a picture of it, and it's got the name of the song. He wrote a song specially, and he wanted to do it in here. And he wrote a song called "If the Coal Mine Don't Kill You, the Medicine Will." And what it was talking about is these miners that get disabled, they get hooked on this pain medicine, opioids, that's what they call them. They get hooked on them, and eventually, you know, if they can't get off of it, it takes their life also. So he wrote a song about it. He also visited some disabled coal miners over in the Thurman area, another old coal town, and he got to talk to them, and that's on the video also. And so it's a real good, I call it a documentary more or less, but he plays that, and these bands and these singers and these management team, all of them was in here one night after we shut down. They pulled up out there and come in, and they was in here at about 4 o'clock in the morning trying to make that video. And so, yeah, and then of course it's out now. It come out last year, I think it is, when it come out. So you can punch in his name if you want to watch it, and put Exhibition Mines maybe, and it'll pull that up for you. But I'll stop up here and let y'all see the area where he played at. Now, you know, I've had inside information. I knew he was coming, but I had to stay outside. I was part of the security group, I guess, or what you call it. But I brought my guitar with me. I played bluegrass music a lot with some boys and friends of mine, and I thought maybe he'd let me pick with the band, but he didn't. He said I hadn't practiced enough. But he autographed it for me, so I've got his autograph on my guitar, so that's even better. He went to Nashville, and I kept the guitar here. My grandkids will sell that one of these days.
Okay. Well, that piece is- I think that piece is
video, and then rise through the mountain, and they video that. And right up here on this post, right in front of these folks, you'll see the sign over there. It says Beckley Exhibition, the Medicine Will. That's the name of the song. So with all this area, with all that group of people, and they was making all kinds of noise. The drummer actually sat on that little cart right there. He sat on his drum stool. He sat on that little cart. And if you get that video started, and don't blink. If you blink, you'll miss me, all right? I was on there, I think, 3 seconds. I still had to sign the disclaimer that I wouldn't charge you for being on the video. But anyway, we'll go on down around the mountain. Right, we're going in reverse back in that direction, and when I get in the curve, we laid new switches this year, and it hasn't wore down real good yet, so this car will bump a little bit when I make the turn, all right? I'm just warning you right now so you don't get scared. what they used to do, how they mined their coal and all that, and we'll talk a little more about how much they made and this, that, and another. So I'll be on this side of the car this time. So if you folks over there would like to stand up, just watch over your head or sit up in the seats or whatever you like. But back in here is where the individual coal miner would be working. And if he had anybody's underground, they would be working 100 feet away from each other. And each one of them would be digging tunnels like this. And they would dig that tunnel up 100 feet. And then when they stopped there at the 100-foot mark, they would turn left and right. So he would mine into what that guy's mining there, or mine into what this guy back here was mining. And when they punched them in together and opened them all up, that left a 100-foot square block of coal. And that's what we call pillars. And that's what you see, the coal that's left in here, that is pillars. And that helps hold the mountains up, especially in residential areas. And then companies nowadays, they get special permits that they can, when we drive these mountains up as far as we can, we start retreat mining. And that's when we come out, we're taking all the coal with us. We don't leave nothing. We take all that, mine all that coal out, and just let the mountain collapse behind us as we're going outside, going back out to the main line. And so that's how we mine today. But back in the day, he would come in and take a pick like this one here. And of course, he would be laying down on his side, and he would use his pick to dig that little ditch underneath there. That's called an undercut. Now, before, we just picked the coal out with picks and things. That was hard work. So we decided we could use dynamite and make it a lot easier for us to work with. And we did. We would drill holes in it, and we didn't dig that little undercut. Well, that didn't give that coal nowhere to go, and it would blast out this way and scatter out. So you had to start shoveling all that back up. Then we got a little smarter, okay? We got smarter as we worked. And we dig a little ditch under there. We call it an undercut. It's about 6 inches high. And as far as you can reach back up and underneath there, underneath that coal, and we dug that out, and that gave that coal room to set down when you shoot it. And we just shot it enough to shake it loose so we didn't have to work real hard with it. So you got that little undercut done, and then you use this manual drill. You had a breastplate that you strapped on you, and of course you was on your knees. You put your chest down against this, and you would drill. You drill 3 holes, one in the center, and then you would put one on each side. And so he had all them holes drilled and cleaned out, got ready to put his powder in. He would either use dynamite or black powder. If he just had black powder, he would roll that powder up in newspaper or cardboard and make a stick out of it, like a dynamite stick, and shove it back in there, of course, with a fuse, and then put mud and rocks in front of it and tamp that in there tight so it didn't blow out the hole. It would push down and blow on that coal. And he got everything ready, and so he would come out here and he hollered out a warning to his buddies that he was getting ready to put off a shot. And so, anybody know what he hollered out?
Fire in the hole.
Fire in the hole. That's as loud as he could. And that would let everybody know that he was around in that area that he was getting ready to shoot coal. So they wouldn't walk by here and then they would stop, cover up their ears, get ready for the shot. He would give everybody about 10 to 15 seconds. And he would come up here and light his fuse, get back around the corner himself and wait for the shot to go off. Now, a lot of the guys got real smart. They would synchronize with each other. They would shoot all at one time. And you're talking about noisy and loud and vibration if they all shot it at one time, all right? But anyway, he would go up there after the shot goes off, clean up his coal, and a lot of times rock fell out like this over here, and so he would throw it to the side. He didn't have no use for that rock and all. And if he sent any rock out in his coal, they charged him for, they had pickers out there, they called it, that they would pick the rock out of the coal. Now those pickers consisted of young kids, and sometimes if the husband got killed in the mines, they would let the wife come and work, and that's what she would do. She would pick the rock out of the coal outside when they dumped it. But nowadays, we have big cleaning plants that separates all the rock and the coal for us. We don't have to worry about it. But back then, they just laid it over to the side. And of course, he had to set him some timbers to get make sure everything was secure up here for him. And then he would start doing that again. And the history book that they had, especially for this mines, it took them an hour and a half to do one complete cycle. So an hour and a half for a ton of coal, actually. But he was having to do all the work himself. He had to set his timbers and all this stuff together. And so it was paying him, like I said, that 20 cents a ton for it.
Jeez.
Now, they wasn't paying him with real money. They was paying him with company money. It's called SCRIP, and it had the company name on it, and it had the value of that coin, and you used it at the company store. Whatever company you was working for, they had a grocery store or whatever you needed, and that's where you used it at. Now, they did have some folks that would exchange that coin for you, but you didn't get the full value of it. You just got a certain percent of it. And so all the money you was making was going right back into the company's pocket, okay? That's the way it was. It was tough back in the old days. All right, any questions here?
You have these squares of metal that are bolted into the walls and into the roof here.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that to prevent rocks from like falling in, caving in, or whatever?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to explain those on my next stop.
Okay.
If I had never been underground and I seen all this, I'd want to know exactly what that's for, right?
No,
What's,
I would have
what's
been
holding
running
this
out.
mountain up, too?
Did they have to carry those timbers in here themselves?
They would bring them in on those carts, the empty carts that they put the coal in. They would bring them in and stack them off everywhere they was working at. And that way they would just have to come back here and get them. Now this mine's particular, this family mines, they didn't have carts. They didn't have rails or nothing in here. They used flat bottom sleds and they used goats and dogs to pull the coal out. And they would take out about a wheelbarrow load at a time. They didn't have to take a whole lot out because they was just selling it to folks to heat with, and so they wasn't using big quantities of it.
Wow.
Any other questions here?
The coal vein, does it stay at the same elevation pretty
Yes, sir.
much? Okay.
Yeah, this one stayed, it may take a dive in a few areas, but most of the time it stays level for you.
How did they find where the coal seams were, like, from the outside? Did they just start probing around and looking for?
Well, back in the day, we didn't have no real deep mines like we have today. They would just be around on their farms and things, and back in these mountains, and they would see that black streak underneath a cliff. They know that was the coal, so they would start digging there. It's hard to tell how many holes are in these mountains where they dug the coal out. The heat, they call it house coal. They would just use it at home. In modern days, like where we're at, we got big core drills that goes back on top of these mountains. And they drill down through the earth, and they'll drill down to 3,000 feet, I think it is. And they'll drill through the rock, and they'll let you know what kind of rock it is. They get to the coal, they send that coal out and get it sampled, and they'll tell you how much sulfur is in it, how much ash is in it, which ash is dirt, and then they'll tell you the BTU of it, how hot it burns. So that's how we do it today. We have core drills that drill for us.
Isn't there two types of coal? There's like a soft
Yes.
coal and a harder one?
Yes, this in West Virginia and southern, down this way, in Kentucky, Virginia, Ohio, Tennessee, all the area there is all bituminous. It's a soft coal. And when you get up in the Pennsylvania area, it turns into anthracite coal. And it's a real hard, it's like digging rock, that coal is. But it burns just as good as this coal here does.
Just because of higher pressure when it was created? Is that?
I don't know, buddy. I really don't. I just know there was two types, and one's harder than the other.
That moss is created because of the lights in there?
Yes, sir. With the dampness and the light, it causes that moss to grow. I don't know if you noticed, probably those folks on that side, those ferns coming up out of
Oh, yeah.
When we first come in, they was
Yeah,
turning.
they're old.
They're burning over there, I hadn't
Yeah.
noticed. Yeah. Yeah, we grow a lot of stuff underground.
Remember the bed and
A lot of folks, they'll grow mushrooms.
I'm sure, yeah.
Make mushrooms and stuff. All right, folks, we'll ease on down to our next stop. Going by some equipment over there, never was used in our mines, it was used in different places. But, it was donated here, we brought it in here and set it up for everybody to see what the old, first, equipment looked like underground. So that's some of the old equipment that we started using, after we quit picking and shoveling days. Started getting a little help with unions and things in our coal mining industry, and so benefits got better, pay got better, and so everything started getting better for the coal miners, starting in about 1938, 39, and then it started kind of just leveling off, and it got a little better as we go along. So now we're going to talk about support. You had, back in the days, like we've been talking, you had one timber on each side of the road. This would be the road that you used. And you put a big header board across. And you couldn't support this. You couldn't put timbers here because this was your way in and out. And the stuff and your equipment would be going through here. So this would take weight. When you mine in that direction, well, this mountain starts putting pressure back here because you done took all the support back. And so it would bow these boards and break them, and sometimes they'd fall in, and then you had these every 4 feet. And that's what, it done pretty good for a while, but then we started having a lot of cave-ins and a lot of entrapment stuff with it. So in the 40s, we started with our engineers and geologists, and they told us we could put bolts in our top. So that's what you see along the way is bolts, and a lot of them, these big wide plates, is the newer bolts and plates that we put in. That plate is designed, that flat surface that holds this rock up for us. And that bolt's way up in there and it's anchored down, that was what holds the rock. So you would take a drill machine, this was built in the 50s, and so you would put your steel in it, and the head, you got hydraulic jacks that pushes up on it while it's a drilling. So you get that start to drilling like that, and then you got your hydraulics. So you would drill up in the mountain like that for you. And as y'all can tell, I cheated. That hole was already there, all right? We want to hear all that squeaking and drilling and dust and all that stuff. Now, this is the first type of bolt we use. It's called a little conventional bolt, just a small piece of metal and a rod. And it's got this little plate like you see up there. And it's got the head on it. That's where you put your wrench to tighten it up. This is the main part of that bolt. It is a chuck, and we call it a chuck. But it works like a toggle bolt. When you tighten it up, this little nut comes down and it spreads these hands out, these fingers. And they dig into the rock, and that's what holds that bolt up in the top. So you put your bolt up in there, you tighten it up to about 150, 170 foot-pounds of torque, and you have one of these bolts every 4 foot. Now you see a lot more bolts in here because we've been open, we've gone back and put extra bolts and stuff up. But over about 12 years, these bolts worked real good for us. And then these would rust and they would break, and then this would slip loose up in there, and that bolt would just fall out the hole. And you wouldn't have no support. So we got on the engineers and the geologists, and so they come up with a glue bolt. It is, we use resin. It's a tube of resin. And it's a two-part. You got the resin here, and the white part is the hardener. So it's separated by a little thin piece of membrane or plastic up in there. So you drilled your hole, you shove this up in there. Of course, you're balancing it on the end of a bolt. This tube of glue has been handled so much it is not stiff enough for us anymore to do that. But you would put that glue up in there, and you have this bolt in this hand, you got your glue here, and you would anchor it or bounce it on the end of there, and you're pushing it up. Now you see this is a piece of rebar that we use in concrete. It's a lot stronger and a lot thicker and it lasts a lot longer. So you got your glue up in there, you start this up in, you can tell and hear that bolt, that glue when it busts open. And you start spinning it and you start pushing it up. And you got 10 to 15 seconds to get that up in there because it sets up fast and it sets up hard. It's harder than rock if you can consider that. And when you push it up, it migrates out in all these little cracks and fills everything back up for you. And it makes the whole thing solid. So that's how we support our mountain. We glue it back together. Works. We started using this method in 1968, and this is what we use today. It's worked real good. You can go back in these old mines that's been abandoned or mined out, and if they use this system, you can still go back in those mines because it's holding it up. And of course, the steel is for extra support. It keeps the mountain from shifting, just like your concrete, so your concrete won't bust up. And that's what this steel is for. Any questions about our support system? Now, you see those big wide plates. They are the newer plates that we use. They designed these. They're bigger and they're aluminum or galvanized so they don't rust. That's why you see the bigger ones. And so that we don't worry about these rusting no more. And you'll see them in the walls. If they passed a law, if your coal mine's over 6 foot high, you have to put bolts in the rib and you put them back in there at 45 degrees angles. That holds these ribs up. Those ribs will bust off and fall out because of the pressure, so we have to bolt them and they'll stay up for us. We don't have to worry about them coming in. Any question about our support? How we do it? We cut our entries now is about 22 to 25 feet wide because our equipment is huge that we use underground.
No more dogs.
Huh?
No more dogs coming back.
No. Nope, I did have a friend, he was on the belts, he cleaned belts a lot for us. And we had a stray dog come to the mines and he started feeding it. That dog will follow him underground and follows him back out. Been doing it for about 4 years
I
now.
bet.
As his buddy, it keeps him occupied during the day. Company, I should say. Any other questions?
You ever find any, like minerals or diamonds or anything like in the coal seam?
Not around here, we don't, it wasn't enough pressure to make it. There has been, I think, one diamond found, maybe in the United States, I'm not up too much on that, but diamonds are coal is all it is, it's just under a whole lot of pressure. And then they polish it and cut it, polish it, and it turns, looks like glass. But the only thing I found a lot of fossils. I found the 1,000-legged centipedes. I have found a lot of ferns that's embedded into the rock. I have found a lot of bamboo, pieces of bamboo trees. And then fool's gold. I found a lot of iron pyrite underground. The only valuable thing you'll find underground is the coal itself, here around in this area. Of course, you have to eat because you're in here up to 12 hours sometimes, so you bring your lunch. You would use it in a dinner hole just like that over there. You set your bucket down in the area and then you come back and you would eat your lunch. Now, believe it or not, we do have rats underground, okay? And when I say rats, I mean rats. They're that big. And they are smart too. Their tail. They learned to take their tail and they can hook this little lid right here. And they would take that lid off your bucket and flip it off. And it's no joke, I've seen it done. And they would get in your bucket And that would really upset you.
Yeah.
So the next time when you come in, you would find you a place to hang it up. Or you got wire like that's on top of that bucket over there. You wired that thing down so he couldn't lift it up. Anybody been out to the Petrified Forest out west, out next to the Grand Canyon, at Flagstaff? It's a beautiful place to go visit, and all the redwoods, they turn to fossilized, they turn to rock. And so we have fossilized trees in our mountains. They're not redwoods, but they are, that's what you're seeing right here. That's pieces of them. And they fall out. If you go up there and read in the museum, they call them widowmakers. Because a lot of them, when they fell out, they crushed your neck or back or done a lot of damage because they're falling out of the top. And they're real heavy. That big piece with that little one sitting on top of it there, I think they weigh that in about 400 and some pounds.
Wow.
And so if that falls out of the top and hits you, it's going to do some damage, all right? So when we mine the coal out, it exposes that top. And if you look up in the top and you'll see a little seam of coal, about 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch wide. That was the bark that was on that tree, and it turns to coal. But the tree itself turns to rock. And so when you expose that, the air starts hitting it, and that coal starts flaking off from around that tree stump. And that lets it break off and fall out. So the guys that's assigned to putting up these bolts, they got to watch for that. And they will drill holes and put metal straps across it, and that catches it so it don't fall out of the top anymore. So we passed a law that they got to be strapped up against the top. But that's what a kettle bottom is.
How high is how much land is above this before you get to daylight? Like
145 feet. It's a shallow mine. Shallow, real shallow. The deepest mines I was in was the one I started in. I rode the elevator like I talked about out there. Rode it down 1,000 feet, and then we started mining out. And when you're under them big tall mountains, they measure probably, I think the deepest one was at around 2,800 feet under the surface. You just don't think of it. It's just like sitting in your living room. See, I don't think nothing about that, but when I get on a roof, I'm scared to death. I guess because I can see, if I fall, it's a long way to the bottom.
That's right.
Any other questions? All right, everything's modern day. If you like playing Xbox, anybody ever play Xbox and them little games? My kids do, or my grandkids. I don't understand them, really. I haven't got to that era yet. But anyway, that's how we run our equipment. It's all run off of remote boxes. They strap around you on your shoulder, and you got your joysticks to operate the trams. You got your on and off switches here to operate everything else, and it's just amazing. You can stand right here, and your equipment will be up in there about 30 feet or 40 feet, and you're running it. That's how we mine the coal nowadays. We hardly ever round our equipment. Now they designed what they call a proximeter. It's a little device on there, and then you carry one on your belt, and you got one on your machine. So we had a lot of coal miners get backed up or run over by machinery. And so we got a little proximeter on it, and so it shuts it down. If you get within 10 foot of that machine, it shuts it off. It won't run until you get back away from it. So everything's got safer. We used to use phones like this here, and the old crank-up style phones. And they're hooked up in series. Anybody ever know what I'm talking about? A party line on your phones. When your phone rung, everybody was picked the phone up and listened to what are they saying about the neighbors today. That's the way that phone works, Harry. It's just a big system that everybody can talk on it. Nowadays we text underground. We have our antennas about 4 or 5 inches long, and we stick them all through our mountain. They're wireless, and they put out that signal all the time. So now we can text underground each other. Everybody carries this little texting device in his pocket, and it'll buzz or ring just like your cell phone does, and you answer the message back. You're texting back and forth. They just don't let you order anything off of DoorDash or Grub. They will not deliver to you, all right? And each coal miner wears a little device called a tracker. They keep up with you all day long. We've had some men get trapped, and they're supposed to be in this area in behind this entrapment, and you dig through there and they're not there. And so they're working somewhere else. So now they can't tell us that, okay? You've got a dispatcher outside, one that directs the traffic underground. He's watching a big mine screen, and he's got you on there, your number. And if the superintendent wants to know where you're at, he can just look at that board and tell him where you're at all the time. I just put it out in the signal, and it picks up on them antennas, so we know where you're at. You don't get lost or you can't get entrapped. If you do get trapped, we know exactly where you're at. We don't have to waste time trying to find you. Any questions? Anybody been in the military? Any veterans today? We'd like to acknowledge our veterans. What branch was he in?
Navy.
Navy. Army. Thank you. I'll give them a hand clap. Appreciate our veterans. Thank you so much. I always tell them, I don't care what job you had, it was for the defense and to keep our freedoms and our what we are enjoying today. All right, we appreciate our veterans because they sacrificed quite a bit, okay, for us. And any school teachers, nurses, doctors, EMTs, paramedics, policemen, firemen. Is everybody retired like me? We have any coal miners or been a coal miner? I'll put it out that way.
Been in the mines.
Huh?
Been in the mines.
Okay.
I'm from originally Logan County.
Logan County.
Yeah.
I'm from Oceana, Wyoming County.
I'm from Man.
Man, oh, we were next door to each other. Yeah. Did you just go in looking around? Or
Yeah, I'd go with my stepdad, do the phone boy work, about splices, clean the
Okay.
bags, stuff like
Yeah.
that. Then go hunting the next morning.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, we have contractors comes in, does all of our belt work for us and different things like that, so. Well, somebody lives next door to me on my trip today.
You know Tommy Atkins?
That was my cousin.
That's my uncle.
Tommy,
Yeah,
what's your name?
Brad Atkins.
Brad Atkins. Well. Now, Tommy Atkins from Huff Creek. or
Yeah,
something.
lives at the
Yeah.
bottom of the
He used to
mountain.
play piano at the church.
Tommy, David, Michelle.
We're having a family reunion. Y'all just sit still a minute, all right?
Well, we'll
My dad
come.
was Kenny
Kenny?
Atkins.
Okay,
He died in the mines in '83.
yeah. Yeah, old Tommy, he was he'd been my second cousin, and him and Ann.
What's that? I mean,
On my mom's side, to Aunt Allie Combs and Fern and Yule Atkins was Tommy's parents. So that's the one, that's the Tommy I know.
Tommy, Bertha, and
Well, it's a different
his mom.
type,
Yeah,
different Tommy.
yeah.
Different Tommy, but anyway, we're probably kin folks.
Probably.
Oh,
All my Atkins,
Down through the line.
majority of Pike, around Pikeville.
okay,
Yeah.
all right. All right, folks, I'm gonna get you back outside. Appreciate you being on my tour. Just a little fact about the wages now. Everything is done by the hour, not by the ton. When I started in 1975, I was making $34 for an 8-hour shift. So, 74 for a single boy, that was pretty good money back then for an 8-hour shift. Because I was making minimum wage while I was working in school. I had a lot of credits, so I didn't have to go to school all day. I'd go find me a job and work it after about a half a day. But then everything started picking up, and when I retired, I was making $32 an hour, and I was working 12-hour shifts. But I worked 4 days and off 4 days and off 4. So I was enjoying that because I was getting a vacation every week, I call it, and stuff. So everything started doing pretty good for the coal miner. And then I up and retired, and I went back to minimum wage and tips. Okay, so it's just go back in a circle. All right, go back to where you started from, just about. All right, folks, I'm gonna get you out. I'll take you out the long way. We're gonna take a little ride down through the park, and I'll stop back in and let you off where we got on at. Now, if he hasn't left outside, I'll let you off in the other barn But if he is still underground, if he's underground, I'll bring you in the ground, underground a little bit, and then I'll back you back in. You can get off where we started at, okay?
Great.
Thank y'all again for
Thank
being on my
you.
tour. Appreciate y'all.
Slate. Slate na lang siya. Siya ito na lang. Circuit box. Distance. That's how it's rough, man.
Thank you, and I'll get the gate, or if you want to try it, you can just put the cord on that black lever and flip it up, and it will open up for you. Watch your finger. Break open on it.